6 decluttering rules that sound wrong, but actually work. For 40 years, I kept my mother's china set in a box I never opened. Last month, I donated it, and I've never felt lighter. What if I told you the best way to honor memories isn't to keep everything? These 6 rules go against everything organizing experts teach, but they actually work for people over 60. If you're ready for honest advice that respects your life experience, you're in the right place. Subscribe to the Senior Reset. Today, you'll discover 6 decluttering rules that sound completely backwards. Why keeping your favorite things in boxes is wasting them. Why one item in, one item out doesn't work at this stage. And why the most important items to declutter aren't what you think. Stay until Rule 6. It's the one that changes everything. If you're watching this, chances are you've tried decluttering before. Maybe you bought organizing bins. Maybe you started with the junk drawer and got overwhelmed. Maybe someone told you to spark joy with every item, and you felt exhausted just thinking about it. Here's what most decluttering advice misses. You're not a 30-year-old trying to maintain a minimalist apartment. You're someone with decades of lived experience, real memories, and a lifetime of meaningful possessions. The rules that work for younger people don't work for you, because you're not trying to organize more stuff, you're trying to create space for the life you want to live right now. These 6 rules sound wrong at first. They might even make you uncomfortable. But they work because they respect where you are in life and what actually matters at this stage. Everyone says, save sentimental items for last when you're practiced at letting go. Start with the easy stuff, they tell you. Kitchen gadgets you never use, old towels, expired pantry items. Here's why that's backwards. At 60 and beyond, you have something younger people don't have. Wisdom. You already know what truly matters. You don't need practice deciding if you need 3 potato peelers. That's not where your mental weight lives. The real weight, the thing making your home feel heavy, is in the boxes of old greeting cards in the closet. The inherited furniture you feel guilty about, the photo albums you can't bear to look through. Starting with easy items wastes your emotional energy on things that don't matter. You end up spending weeks decluttering the meaningless while the meaningful keeps weighing on you. Here's what actually works. Pick one memory category, just one. Old birthday cards, photos from the 1980s, your parents' belongings you inherited. Spend 20 minutes, not 3 hours. Keep only what makes you smile immediately, not what makes you feel guilty. If you have to think hard about why you're keeping something, if the reason starts with "I should" or "what if someone asks about it," that's your answer. My grandmother used to say, love isn't measured in boxes stored in the attic. She kept one photo album, not 12. She kept the letters that made her laugh, not every card she ever received. And when I visited her home, it felt light. Not because she had less love, but because she knew the difference between honoring a memory and being buried by it. The truth is, sentimental clutter is where freedom lives. Once you make peace with what you're keeping and why, everything else becomes easy. That's why you start here, not last. You're not practicing, you're doing the real work first. And everything after this becomes lighter. If you've been avoiding that box in the back of the closet, this is your permission. 20 minutes. One category. Keep what brings you joy right now, not what brought you joy 30 years ago. You'll be surprised how much lighter you feel. Rule 2. There's a phrase people love to say, keep it for special occasions. The good china, the crystal vase, the fancy soap shaped like a rose, the embroidered tablecloth you got as a wedding gift. You store them carefully, waiting for the right moment. But here's the question nobody asks. When is that moment? And who decided it hasn't happened yet? You've earned the right to use your best things daily. You worked for them. You've lived long enough to know that special occasions are the ones you decide are special. Tuesday dinner can be special. Morning coffee can be special. You are the occasion. Here's why this rule works. Every item sitting in storage, wrapped in tissue paper, waiting for some day, is taking up mental space. Every time you walk past that cabinet, your brain registers it. Not consciously, but it's there. Unused potential, wasted beauty, things you love but never experience. And the sad truth? Many people pass away with their best things never used. Their children donate them, and strangers use the fancy plates at goodwill. That's not honoring the item, that's hiding from life. So here's the reset. If something is too precious to use daily, ask yourself honestly, am I saving it, or is it saving itself from being lived with? That crystal vase in the cabinet. Put flowers in it this week. Real ones, grocery store ones, it doesn't matter. The fancy soap? Use it. Wash your hands with luxury. You are not waiting for anything. You are the moment. And if something feels too fragile, too valuable, too risky to actually use, ask yourself why you own it. Possessions exist to serve your life, not sit in storage for a future that never comes. My friend Margaret told me she kept her mother's fine china for 25 years. Never used it once. She said she was saving it for family dinners. But her kids live across the country and visit twice a year. Last Christmas, she finally set the table with those plates. One cracked in the dishwasher. And you know what she said? She said she wished she'd cracked it years ago, because at least she would have enjoyed it. That's the real cost of saving things. Not the risk of breaking them, but the guarantee of never experiencing them. Rule 3. The one-in, one-out rule is everywhere. Organizing experts swear by it. For every new item you bring home, remove one old item. Sounds balanced, right? Sounds sustainable. Here's the problem. That rule is designed to maintain clutter, not reduce it. And at this stage of life, you don't need to maintain anything. You need to shrink your footprint. You need space, not balance. The one-in, one-out rule works for someone in their 30s building a life. You're not building anymore, you're refining. And refining means letting go of more than you bring in. Here's why this matters more now than ever. Many people over 60 are facing the reality of downsizing. Maybe not today, but eventually. Moving to a smaller home. Simplifying for health reasons. Planning ahead so your children don't have to. If you're using the one-in, one-out rule, you're staying exactly where you are. Your home isn't getting lighter, you're just swapping clutter. And every item you keep is a decision someone else might have to make later. The better rule? 1 in, 3 out. Or better yet, nothing in, unless it solves a real problem you have today. Not a hypothetical problem, not a maybe someday problem. Today. Before buying anything, and I mean anything, ask yourself this question. Will this make my life easier or just fuller? Easier means it replaces something that frustrates you. Fuller means it's just more stuff. A comfortable chair that helps your back. Easier. A decorative pillow because it was on sale. Fuller. Here's what I see happen all the time. Someone declutters their home, feels amazing, then slowly fills it back up. A little shopping therapy. Holiday gifts. Sale items, too good to pass up. And within a year, they're back where they started. The one-in, one-out rule enables this. It gives you permission to keep shopping as long as you remove something. But you don't need more things. You need more space, more air, more ease. And every single item you bring into your home, no matter how small, is something you have to clean, store, move around, and eventually get rid of. Is it worth it? Rule 4. Walk into any store and you'll find an entire aisle dedicated to organization. Plastic bins, label makers, drawer dividers, closet systems. The message is clear. If you just organize better, your clutter problem will be solved. But here's the truth. Nobody in that aisle wants you to know. Organized clutter is still clutter. And the organizing industry profits every time you try to manage things you don't actually need. At this stage of life, you don't need better systems. You need less stuff. Think about it this way. Every time you organize something, you're making a decision to keep it. You're spending money on containers. You're spending time labeling. You're spending energy maintaining the system. And for what? So you can efficiently store things you rarely use? That's not simplification. That's just prettier clutter. My grandmother had one junk drawer. One. Not because she was organized, because she only kept what she used. Everything else left her home. No bins, no labels, no systems. Just intentional ownership. Here's the reset, and this one's uncomfortable. Before organizing anything, ask yourself why you're keeping it. Really ask. Not the surface answer. The real one. If you hear yourself say, maybe I'll need it someday, or I might use it eventually, or it was expensive so I should keep it, those aren't reasons. Those are excuses. The sunk cost fallacy doesn't care about your storage bins. Money you spent in the past is gone whether you keep the item or not. Try this exercise. Walk through your home right now. Every organized container, storage bin or labeled box, open it. Don't just glance. Actually look at what's inside. If you forgot what was in there, you don't need it organized. You need it gone. If you haven't opened it in a year, same answer. Storage isn't the solution. It's the problem disguised as productivity. This is the rule that sounds harsh, but it's the one that frees you the most. Your kids don't want your stuff. I know that's hard to hear. You raised them in this house. You set the table with these dishes. You chose that furniture carefully. Surely they'll want it. Surely it means something to them. But here's the uncomfortable reality. Their homes are already full. They have their own style, their own memories. And while they love you deeply, they don't love your possessions the same way you do. This matters because I see it constantly. People in their 60s, 70s, 80s holding on to furniture, china sets, collections, telling themselves, this is for the kids. They're living in a crowded home, struggling to navigate around furniture they don't need, all because they believe they're preserving something valuable for the next generation. But when the time comes, the kids don't want it. And then they feel guilty getting rid of it after you're gone. You're not creating legacy, you're creating burden. Here's what actually works, and it requires courage. Ask them directly, not hypothetically. Not, do you like this, but do you want this in your home? Give them permission to say no. Accept the answer with grace. No guilt, no lectures about how much it cost or what it means to you. They're not rejecting you, they're being honest. And that honesty is a gift because it frees you to make decisions now. Donate items to families who will actually use them. Sell things and use the money for experiences. Give meaningful items to people who truly want them. The best inheritance isn't stuff. It's not leaving your children with a house full of decisions after you're gone. Think about it from their perspective. They'll be grieving, they'll be overwhelmed, and they'll be standing in your home trying to figure out what to do with decades of accumulation. Every item becomes a decision. every decision feels emotional. Do I keep Mums's books? Will I regret donating Dad's tools? What if my sibling wanted this? That's the real burden. Here's the rule that changes everything, and it's about mindset, not method. Most decluttering focuses on removing old things, getting rid of the past, clearing out what you don't need anymore. But that's backward thinking. At this stage of life, decluttering isn't about managing what was. It's about designing what is. You're not cleaning up your past. You're creating your present. And that changes everything. Stop asking, what should I get rid of? Start asking, what do I want my daily life to feel like? That's the real question. Because once you know how you want to live, the clutter reveals itself. You don't have to agonize over every item. You just ask, does this serve the life I want or the life I used to have? If you want easy mornings, declutter your bedroom and closet first. If you want peaceful evenings, declutter your living room. If you want to cook more, declutter your kitchen counters. Let your vision lead. The stuff will follow. This is so different from traditional decluttering advice. Usually, people tell you to start in one corner and work your way through the house, or tackle one category at a time, or follow some method named after someone else. But none of that asks the most important question. What kind of life are you trying to live right now? Not 10 years ago. Not the life you think you should want. The life you actually want today. Maybe you want a home where friends feel comfortable dropping by. What needs to change for that? Maybe you want mornings that feel calm instead of chaotic. What's in your way? Maybe you want to spend less time cleaning and more time doing things you enjoy. What can you remove to make that happen? When you declutter with purpose, with vision, every decision becomes easier. You're not just removing things. You're making space for something specific. Here's what these 6 rules really mean. You don't owe your possessions your space. You don't owe your past your present. And you don't owe anyone an explanation for choosing lightness. This stage of life isn't about shrinking. It's about expanding into the space you've earned. You've spent decades caring for others, building, providing, maintaining. Now it's time to ask what serves you. Not what's expected, not what's traditional, what actually makes your life easier, lighter, more peaceful. Decluttering at this age isn't about following someone else's rules. It's about trusting yourself enough to let go, to use your best things, to be honest with your children, to design your home for the life you're living right now. You have the wisdom to know what matters. Trust that. If this gave you permission to let go, give it a like and share it with someone who needs to hear this. Subscribe to the Senior Reset for more honest conversations about living well, not just living with more. For 40 years, I kept my mother's china set in a box I never opened. Last month, I donated it, and I've never felt lighter. The real weight, the thing making your home feel heavy, is in the boxes of old greeting cards in the closet. Once you make peace with what you're keeping and why, everything else becomes easy.